Back now with Dr. John Townsend talking about how to deal with an ex-spouse.
And typically the only reason you have to do that is because kids are involved. One of the toughest situations is when one parent is a disciplinarian and then the other one is lavishing the child with toys, or as I like to say, Dr. John, a Disney parent.
A Disney parent.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do we deal with that?
Well, first off, you gotta honor the fact that there's a reason that they're an ex-spouse. Something didn't work out in the dance between the two people, communication. So you don't try to like make everything fine again. You can be good co-parents, but you don't have to be really close friends with them. So don't put that pressure on yourself. But the problem does come in when one person is the more structured person. They have more task orientation, requirements, more discipline, and the other one's kind of fun. The very first thing you can say is, I would like for us to, I call it bend the knee to the child. Like, I'm going to change my style for the child's benefit, and I want you to change your style for the child's benefit. And you kind of make the child the focus, not the power struggle between the two people, and that often gets them out of their style and start thinking, you know, Junior's going to be in college one day. They're going to be falling in love and getting married one day, so how can I make them a healthy kid?
So in an ideal world, and I know that when Brian and I divorced and the kids were a little younger, we did a good job at, you know, if they're in trouble at Dad's house, then they're in trouble at my house too. You know,
that's a great rule.
And things like that. It's great until it's a situation where you go, wait a minute, I think you're being too hard on him.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be grounded all week for that.
Right.
And you have to have that open line of communication for each of you to be able to bend. So what happens when you don't have that line of communication?
I always tell people, start off with a vulnerable approach of, you know, we got our own lives now, but we're tied together with Susie or Sally or Junior. And I really want you, as the other parent, to give me all the feedback I need. You know, if you see something I'm not doing this, if I'm too loose on the rules or if I'm too tight, I need you to give me the feedback because I want to serve our child. Would you do the same thing? So you give it to yourself first, and then that brings down the defensive,ness, and they go, well, yeah, there are a couple of things I'd like to say.
The thing is, if you could have figured out how to do that, you wouldn't be divorced. Right?
And I also think that a lot of times parents communicate more or even better when they are separated because they're having to talk about these children.
Because they're focused.
They're focused
They're now
on
focused
something,
on something that's important to both of them.
Yeah, it's crazy how that happens.
Yeah, and it can also be very effective. The co-parenting and divorce parenting can be very effective if you get on that line of thinking. But you know, there are those other times when you'll need to say, let me give you a few examples. I always tell people, when you get ready to have that conversation about you're too tight or loose with Junior, you better have 3 examples. So you can say, you know, when they were 10 minutes late for school and you ground them for a week, and then you did X, Y, and Z. Sometimes a specific example gets them out of the dynamic because exes are often still kind of wounded by each other, and they can trigger each other. So you get out of the, well, you said you think I'm a bad parent. I'm not saying anything. Here's the 3 examples. Stick with the examples, not our past relationship and all the craziness that went on between us.
And obviously, the more you communicate and the more on the same page you are, the healthier it's going to be for these kids.
Right, right. Which really argues for, don't be the opposite of what your spouse is. If your spouse is the, you know, fun Disney one, then don't be, you know, the military, because then the kid comes away with, okay, there's a fun kind of life over here, and then there's a boot camp life over here. They don't have, like, you want to be healthy. You want to be full of grace and truth. You want to be full of love and discipline. So don't be the opposite parent. You be the, what I would call the balanced parent, the integrated parent. You've got, you're fun as anybody, but when the rules are the rules, the rules are the rules. What they say about mothering, example, the best mothers in the world have 2 qualities. The research all says this. They're very warm and very strict.
Really?
You're warm and fun, but you're strict too.
I'm not strict enough. I'm warm, I'm not strict.
Well.
But I'm trying to be stricter.
A few more
house rules. You do great.
A few more consequences. So, and you encourage the ex to do the same thing.
You know what I think is interesting too is when you learn how to communicate as co-parents, all of a sudden, all the stuff that bothered you about them as an ex-husband, it starts to go away, and you start to appreciate them for being a really awesome parent, or you appreciate them for being responsible, or being there when they say they're going to be there, or you know, whatever the things are that you're appreciating about them. It's interesting how it starts to overshadow, and you start to see them in a different light.
You know why that is? Because you don't need them.
Yeah.
When you're married, you need somebody. You need their love. You need to depend on them. You need for them to be interested in you. You need them to be stable for you and center you and all that. When you're done and it's just the kids, you don't need them emotionally anymore. So you can look at something and go, you know, you really do a good job of this. The need goes away.
Wow.
Therefore, a beautiful relationship and such a great example for these kids.
Exactly. And the kids go, you know, they didn't make it, but they're really nice to each other, and I'm going to be like that.
How do we learn
That's
not
beautiful.
to need while we're in the relationship? Can you come back and talk about that?
It's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
We could talk about it.
that's great.
We can talk.
You
He's going to
have
be
such
talking
great
tonight
advice.
at Gateway Church. You can hear him more helpful tips tonight at Gateway, like I just said. That's at 7? 7 o'clock, and that's in South Lake at their South Lake campus. And there's no charge, so be sure to check it out tonight. And we'll be back with more broadcast right after this.